Here we have Red West putting his fist in Elvis's throat, and Elvis is going to display his chi power or key power and pushing Red West and Al Holcomb backwards. I was amazed at why Elvis would jeopardize his vocal cords and allowing somebody to do this. He's introducing Al Holcomb there, and Al's going to be putting on some self-defense technique moves, primarily things that work off of punches. And you'll be able to see better angles of this in a few minutes as we get rolling here. Now, Elvis started training in the martial arts when he was in the military over in Germany. And he studied, had about 3 famous instructors that he studied under. Al Holcomb was one of our gladiators for this movie, but Elvis loved the passion and the discipline that the martial arts offered to us. And my name is Wayne Carman, and I'm getting to narrate this film for you today. This is a unique experience for me, and the time I got to spend with Elvis was a mountaintop experience for me. I'm also the author of Elvis's Karate Legacy. I've written it, and it talks about Elvis's life and times in the martial arts and how he used the martial arts to better himself, not only physically but mentally and spiritually as well. The martial arts is 3 phases of training. It covers the physical, the mental, and the spiritual aspect of one's life. That's one reason Elvis wanted to do this documentary and promoting the martial arts worldwide. He thought it was great for children as well as adults, and he just loved the physical activity that it offered. These gentlemen here just displaying some of the unique techniques that the martial arts offer. This gentleman here was from another school that was in Memphis. He was real quick and agile, and one of our gladiators that we had. You can hear Elvis talking in the background. Oh, that's a good move right there. It's a hard move to actually execute too, but it's real pretty when you have someone such as this gentleman or a real good black belt doing these moves. Elvis really, you'll see him, he's like the star of this film. He wanted other people to be recognized as well. He really didn't want all the big publicity for it. He is discussing and demonstrating these 5 moves, and I'll talk more about them on another camera view. You can see the passion he loved training with. He has Mr. Stanley here on the side of his neck where his pressure points run up between the muscles. He's striking him to the groin right here. And again, we have a better camera view here. In just a moment, you'll be able to see it. But Elvis had tremendous control over his techniques. His hands was just fabulous, mostly from the Kempo style that he trained with. Now this right here is another gladiator. This is Superfoot Bill Wallace. Bill was one of the best, or not one of the best, but the best martial artist in the world. He was undefeated, and here he is demonstrating that famous left leg. You can see just kick, the hair flies up on Red's head. And Red was a real tough martial artist. He enjoyed that contact from it and enjoyed getting hit on, just so he could really see how these techniques would work and apply. And he trained real hard. I won't ever forget when I first started training Red. I was actually, how I kind of fell into this was I was one of the best in the country with a weapon called the nunchucks. And Elvis actually got my name and phone number from Charlie Church so I could train Red West on the weapon called the nunchucks. And he was just a dedicated student. Now this is Dave Hebler here. Dave was one of Elvis's bodyguards, but one of Ed Parker's right-hand men in his system. He was a fascinating martial artist as well. He loved the laws of physics. They love going through these patterns. They're like about 17 moves to him, and he could go through them in like 2.5 seconds. These elbow strikes are just devastating. Difficult to hurt your elbow, but real easy to hurt an opponent with. And this is an angle view shooting into the mirrors. We actually had 3 cameras set up this evening shooting, so you'll get to see all of these events from many different angles. Once again, he's demonstrating his chi power with Red putting his fist in his throat. I was always amazed why he'd do this for a room full of people. Now he's going to take a shot from Red to the ribs. And the scream is what we call a ki-op. It's a way of generating more power. Or being able to absorb more pain without feeling it. I was amazed seeing the pistol fall and hit the ground so hard. There'll be another camera view here in just a moment. Now, this technique that Elvis is doing here, where he's holding that gun, is one of the best ways to keep from getting shot, even accidentally. Elvis loved these self-defense moves. Striking to the temple there, he's gouging the eyes out. There's an old saying, a finger in the eye will make a grown man cry, and you'll notice he does that quite a bit. Now here he's doing some eye gouging again. He'll turn him around. He's going to strike, actually do 2 strikes there, breaking the nose and hitting the eyes at the same time. And then an elbow to the sternum, and then a back fist to the throat, and then he hits him in the groin. Now that's a ripping effect that he's doing. It's like a tiger claw, eagle claw to the face. Elvis loved using these techniques in his performances on stage as well. Here he's striking the pressure points in his face. That's a pretty devastating strike. If you don't know what it's like, it's very painful. Now he's splitting the fingers and striking both eyes. He loves that technique. Striking to the throat, that's a great place to go. Solar plexus and then to the groin. Then a takedown. And then he'll follow it up, stomping him to the groin. You can't see it here. Now, right here, you can see Elvis getting on his knees. This is what you do when someone pulls a gun on you at 10 feet away. You start praying. You can see a sense of humor. He loved this. Oh, and he says, the old master says, no way to stop bullet. And this is Kong Rhee. Kong Rhee came over to the United States in 1964 from Seoul, Korea. He was real small in stature. He weighed about 140 pounds, and he could almost defy gravity. But Elvis loved his ability because of how fast he was and his ability to do jumping kicks. He was a great kicker. Difficult to understand. He was Korean. And that ring that Kong Rhee has on his right hand there, Elvis gave that to him. It was a lion ring. And this is part of our 17 lethal weapon movements that Kong Rhee did. It's part of our system, of the Pasaru system. And he's real pretty doing this. Elvis enjoyed this. And this is what Elvis really liked, was Mr. Rhee's kickings. Here we are meditating. We do this normally before and after class. He's leading us in our meditation, and it's a spiritual thing that we'd experience. Here we are at Kong Rhee School. This is in Whitehaven. That's me right behind the post there. This was a mountaintop experience for me.
Of course, you know more than what I say, but if I got enough to say that, and I cannot see you, that's all I can say. That's how the question.
He would call him master. When you get to a certain rank in the martial arts, in our system it was 5th degree and above. He's showing off an injury that Elvis experienced a couple of weeks prior to this that got infected. A girl reached to touch him to try to pull a ring off and dug the meat out of the back of his hand.
If I go this way, you have to introduce your people already.
Now Elvis gets a kick out of this. Like, why are you doing this, Connery? But he had an ingrowing toenail.
A rough toenail.
That's me right there on the left again behind Elvis.
And every time, how to move around, he had to pull the nail to blow it inside over the, down through it. You pull the whole toenail off and you just lift it off like that. And it was just 4 hours. What to do, ladies and gentlemen and children, I'd like to share with you a few of the things which I've been privileged to learn myself. I'd like to demonstrate, first of all, the power, the inner power called the chi, C-H-I, or the T-I, chi, or in India it's called Dharma, D-H-A-R-M-A. It's the inner force, life within all of us, causes us to breathe. The force, I would like to show you how to use this force to keep from getting hurt. So I call breath. I call
Here he is showing his chi power again. And then you'll see a delayed reaction.
What I did was actually use the inner strength, the inner force back against what he was going to do.
He was just talking about his inner strength and inner force fighting back what was just happening. Here we have one of the students from Tennessee Karate Institute testing over at Connery School. Elvis was part of this rank test and made the decision to promote this little yellow belt to a green belt. The young man did a great job on this kata. We call this a kata. It's a form of dance. It has roughly about 20 moves to this pattern, and it's like fighting self-defense people from different angles. Okay, here we go again. This is Elvis. He's getting on his knees. He's ready to pray. This is what you do when somebody pulls a gun on you at 10 feet away. And here he is. Now this time, not only does he have red, he's got Mr. Bear, Al Holcomb. Mr. Bear was his animal name. Mr. Holcomb was a powerful man. You'll see him more here in a few minutes. Right here he is. He punched me harder than anybody at the school. He was a real powerful man. He was one of the Gladiators. And he was part of the team that Elvis was sponsoring. You'll see Bill Wallace in his uniform here in just a moment, Stars and Stripes, that Elvis paid for. He bought the whole team to go to Mexico and fight over there. We did a great job on the team. It was an incredible opportunity for everybody that went. They had a great time. And Mr. Stanley here, the one on the right, that was Elvis's stepbrother. And right here, he's what we call an uke. He's like the dummy that's getting beat on. And it's a position that people earn the right to do that. You got to be able to take punishment pretty well to be a good uke. But it's important to make your partner look good. And once again, this is at Tennessee Karate Institute. We had a little over 4,000 square feet in this building. Elvis bought those mirrors, you see. He ended up putting red and black carpet in the school right after the shooting of this film. And I understand that carpet cost a little over $4,000 that went in there. This is above the drugstore over at Cleveland and Overton Park in Memphis. Elvis ended up bringing Bill Wallace to be the head instructor at this school in August of 1974. That's his 5 techniques again. You notice he's hitting Mr. Stanley just a little harder, but he can take it. But he had excellent control. Elvis was great with his hands. His feet, though, in the Kempo style he worked in, they didn't use high kicks at all. Yeah, when you grab somebody like that, there's quite a few places around the body you can grab them. You can just control them and they'll do exactly what you tell them to. That's a real good move. You notice as he throws that punch, he got out of the way. It's always best not to be there. You can see the passion he has doing this. Elvis wanted to promote the martial arts and show the world how great it was. It was good for the whole family. He was striking at vital parts of the body. It's hard to recognize them for the novice. This is an arm break. He's breaking the elbow there. That's a real nice arm break he's doing. Here they are getting ready to come up the stairway. This was the lobby at the school. We had an office back to the left right there that Elvis had painted red and black. Now the filming here was done in 1973 and 4. Elvis had a budget put together of about $125,000 to shoot this documentary. He was going to loan his image to it, and that's really what he was doing here. That's why he's in so much of it, so he could draw attention, get the world to watch and see the benefits of the martial arts. Now here's a room full of gladiators Again, a mountaintop experience for me to get to train with these guys. I got to train with Bill Wallace for about 3 years, Al Holcomb for about 7 or 8 at this time. And we're getting ready to test Bill Wallace. He's getting promoted from 3rd degree to a 4th degree black belt. As you can see, Elvis is doing the talking. He's the head black belt in this class. Elvis wanted to promote the TCB system, the faith, spirit, and discipline of it, as a way of taking care of business and doing it in an honorable, fashionable way. Mr. Wallace just got promoted. You can see Mr. Presley is very proud of him. And that right there is literally the best martial artist in the world. Undefeated in point karate as well as professional kickboxing karate. He started the professional kickboxing. Elvis didn't want him to do it, but he did it against Elvis's wishes. And I think Elvis would have ended up being real proud of him. And the Memphis Press-Scimitar, as well as long as the Commercial Appeal, both did articles on this event in the newspaper the following day. And in the Press-Scimitar office, it was talking about Elvis's who dish it out can show he can take it as well. And the Commercial Appeal was talking about the Elvis Plans, the karate documentary. So this was some big news for Memphis. Now here's Bill Wallace again, and he's stretching out, and this is the uniform I was describing earlier. Elvis bought the whole team this uniform right here. He had it rushed from Tokata, one of the best uniforms you could buy, and Elvis wanted something special for our team. Mr. Wallace was surprisingly real smart. He worked on his master's degree in Memphis at the university there. Now you'll see Elvis wearing his boots in the dojo. We call our training hall a dojo. Training hall, and a lot of people say, well, why did Elvis wear his boots in there? And I said, well, because he was Elvis. But most people, they would go barefooted back then. And today it's opened up even more where people either wear tennis shoes or go barefooted. A lot of people say, well, why would Elvis wear sunglasses in there? And I said, because he was Elvis. But he was an incredible person. And just a mountaintop experience for me. This was a historical event that I knew I was lucky to be a part of. There he is going back to the eyes again. Elvis loved those techniques to the eyes. Breaking your neck, Can't shoot too well with a broken neck. This is a good takeaway he's doing here. And once again, I was amazed to hear that live gun just clang to the ground. Oh, you can see his passion, how much he loved this. Oh, and Red was his chief of security at this time and was almost ever since the beginning of Elvis's career. This is a real good takedown. But you notice the uniform Elvis is wearing now. It was a custom-made uniform. He had several of them. And you'll notice the bows on them and the flare legs. This was more like a uniform, almost like what he would perform on stage with. He was on stage all the time, even in the martial arts studio. This was a special outfit just for Elvis. No one else had an outfit like this. He's talking about his finger techniques again. He's going back to the eyes. Now, Elvis studied in about 3 really good forms of martial arts. He loved the Kempo style and studied Taekwondo for a style and a Japanese style in the military. But these hand techniques, they're so quick, you can do literally hundreds of techniques with your hands while only being able to do just a few with your legs. So that's why you see Elvis using these hands a lot. He was absolutely incredible with them. Now that's a ridge hand technique right there, going back to the throat or the neck, either one. Ridge hands are very good techniques to use. It's a knife hand block. And there's that face strike again, hitting the pressure points in the cheeks. Then back to the eyes. Then to the throat. If somebody can't see you, they can't hit you or chase you. Solar plexus. And here they are arriving at the school, the Tennessee Karate Institute. You can see there's a crowd of people out there. No matter where he went, there they were. This was called Midtown, where this was at. Across the street from here is where he bought his furniture for the jungle room at his home. Elvis hired me in 1970 to train Red West, and that turned in like about a 3-year relationship for me, one that I haven't been able to find since then. This was an incredible experience. Even at Kong Ree's, Elvis would lead us in meditation. And it was almost like a spiritual event for me. I heard him speak of Bible verses and parts of the Bible that just came to life when I heard him speak them. Now here you can see his actually kick was a little low for Bill. Bill caught him by surprise. Now Mr. Hebler is going to get it up just a little bit higher for him. And that was part of the Kempo system. They felt like rank testing was like a woman having a child, something they never forget. And this event is something that Bill Wallace will never forget it as well. This is one of the photographs that was in the newspaper. Elvis is talking here about how limber Bill Wallace is. See him stretching his arms out, saying, well, I can do that with my arms. But this was, Bill Wallace was just a real piece of American history, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. And I'm really enjoy being a part of this documentary. I want to thank Graceland for getting this project put out on the market, and I know all the Elvis fans will love it. Here he is stretching out. We always encourage anytime before you do a demonstration to stretch out real well. Bill Wallace mostly used just his left leg. That's what he was famous for. Elvis hired him again back in August of 1974. Elvis, what was unique about Elvis is that he could afford to hire an army to protect him, but he chose to train and work out just like anybody else so he could defend himself. He got a lot of pride in that. There's those stars and stripes again. And once again, you can see the balance and just how pretty Bill Wallace is. How precise he is with his kicks. I fought him for the world title and he beat me in overtime. It was one of these amazing kicks that hit me to the back of the head. I never saw it coming. It happened between my blinks. I still love watching Bill Wallace work. He travels the world doing the seminars, and he's still a joy to view and watch today. When Elvis was training and working out with us, he didn't want people to be easy on him because he was Elvis Presley. He wanted people to turn it up. But it was hard to do. We all wanted to be very respectful to him because he was in the movies, and we wanted to be sure that none of us really wanted to bust his lips or break his nose. So we always wanted to be real careful with him, even though he didn't want us to be. He was a real gladiator. You notice they bowing. Martial arts is a very respectful form that we show. In the Orient, they bow to each other. Here in America, we shake hands, and it's just a way of showing respect. And Elvis was very respectful. There's Mr. Hebler showing off his speed. Here it comes. That's about less than 2 seconds. Now, he was one of Elvis's bodyguards as well. Yeah, you don't want to be on the receiving end of that elbow right there in a real technique. It'd break your jaw and maybe even break your neck. He's talking about have your hors d'oeuvres. Have a salad, your main course, and then dessert. He compares it to a meal. The martial arts is a lot like ice cream. There's many different flavors. It all depends on what you like. You got vanilla and chocolate and strawberry. And martial arts are that way too. There's many different styles, and they're all good. And that's what Elvis wanted to promote. He wanted to promote all styles of the martial arts. And he really wanted to do it through the TCB karate system to where you could use your faith, spirit, and discipline to accomplish anything you want in life. And he had a passion about that. And if you're an Elvis fan, you know what the TCB meant to him. And like everything else in his life, he wanted to apply it to the martial arts. He had 7 stars put on his patch for 7 days of the week, 7 colors in the rainbow. He thought that was God's perfect number. Here he's talking about his inner chi again. He refers to that a lot. And once again, thank you so much.